That's okay. Hey, good morning, folks. We have a bonus show today. We just had a technical mix up on the front end, and Savannah Arroyo, the Networth Nurse, is joining us today. Good morning, Savannah.
Hi, good morning. I'm stoked to be here. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. So, for folks who are not familiar, and this includes me, can you tell us? I mean, I've done some background research on you. You've got a terrific following on Facebook. You've got a great website. You have a good, strong value proposition. Tell us a little bit about who you are.
Yeah, so my name's Savannah. I'm a registered nurse. I grew up in Sacramento, California, went to nursing school, knew really kind of at a young age I wanted to go into that. And so worked in a few different specialties and was just naturally gravitating towards leadership positions within healthcare. And so I went back to school and I got my master's degree in nursing leadership and administration and have since relocated down to Los Angeles, California. The beginning of 2020, after having my second daughter, I started researching ways to build wealth and start investing. My husband and I just really wanted a lot more time freedom with our family than we had at the time. We were both working full-time jobs, Monday through Friday, pretty demanding jobs. And we just felt we needed to be doing something in our lives to generate more income or more offset our W-2 income so we could spend more time with our family. And so we started investing in real estate. It's one of the best strategies out there to grow wealth, create cash flow, passive income. Started doing that at the beginning of 2020, invested in some single family homes. And then pretty quickly after we switched into multifamily syndications. For anyone who doesn't know, it's pooling together capital and resources to buy bigger real estate deals that you couldn't really do on your own, right? So we go and buy apartment complexes and we have passive investors who invest right alongside with us and get all the amazing returns that we're getting. And so that's currently what we're doing right now. And I generated enough income from that and was able to leave my full-time job in October. So that's a new transition. I'm still working one day a week in the hospital just to kind of stay in there, and launched my brand Networth Nurse November 2020 and just kind of growing that out.
Nice, nice. So you're one day we can. Well, first of all, congrats on retiring. You
Thank
seem
you.
rather young to be retiring, so that's awesome. And this show's all about achieving financial freedom, and there are a lot of different ways to do that, right? And so, investment properties and investor syndication is one of them. Investing with Savannah is one of them. I don't make a dime on it if you do. We're just kind of exploring a lot of different opportunities. Tomorrow, we're going to be interviewing Gene Frederick, one of the board members of EXP. He's got a way to retire. Savannah's got a way to retire, and we're all about retiring with real estate. So tell us, like, what you're staying one day a week in the hospital to stay frosty, right? Keep your skills up, and but you're 4 days a week. What do you do with those 4 days? I mean, you're a mom, you're a wife, you've got a lot going on. You're running a website, you're running a brand. How do you have freedom in a day when you've got so much to do, or do you have so much to do?
Yeah, always lots to do. Yeah, my husband was joking because we've been building this real estate business on top of our full-time jobs for about 2 years. And so we were used to every night after we put our daughters to bed, 8 p.m., hitting our computers and doing real estate work and doing emails and catching up on everything that we couldn't do during the day because we were working full-time jobs. And I'm still in that mindset of when I put my daughters to bed, I'll grab my computer and start working. And he's like, isn't this the reason you stopped working at the hospital so you don't have to work so much? I was like, oh, you're right. So that's kind of a fine balance for me, kind of learning how to do that. But we're busy overseeing our investment properties. So we buy about 3 to 4 apartment complexes a year is our goal. And so we're always busy doing that. We're looking into buying short-term rentals. So we're putting out some offers there as well. So very engulfed in real estate still, especially because we have investors investing with us. A lot of the communication efforts of keeping them up to date of what's going on with the property is big. So doing that real estate piece and the Networth Nurse, it was originally a passion project of mine. As I started talking to nurses about what I was doing in real estate and opportunities to invest in multifamily syndications, I realized that there was a huge gap in just basic financial principles and understanding debt and loans and how to buy your first home and just basic information, like how to invest for retirement, IRA accounts, HSA accounts, cryptocurrency. And so we've developed a platform really for us to host resources and educational material. So we have courses, coaching, and a community piece to it. And that's really what Networth Nurse is. And just really educating and elevating nurses within that finance space, giving them the tools that they need to build wealth so they're not working as hard as they're working. I mean, especially throughout the pandemic. And I was in administration overseeing multiple departments throughout the pandemic, and it's just been so hard on nurses and is still extremely hard on nurses. And so seeing that day after day in the hospital and knowing that I was investing to grow and do real estate, and it allowed me to leave my full-time job, and these other nurses don't even have that opportunity, but they could, because they're making good money. And if they started investing it properly, they could put themselves in a position where they had financial freedom. They just don't know how to do it. And so I've become super passionate about providing resources for nurses on that. So my day is full of real estate, Networth Nurse, a lot of calls, talking to people about what we're doing. So it's still busy.
And if I could, that's awesome. And if I could translate that to real estate agents who might be watching this, I hear a big why, right? Mm-hmm. There's a big why. Savannah felt a need in herself. She started becoming an expert. She started solving that need. By solving that need, she became an expert, right? Now other people saw her as an expert, and it was like gravity, right? She became the magnet they were drawn to. Now she's the professional, right? So that's what you kind of need to be too as a real estate agent, right? You need to develop your expertise. You need to develop your why. Let your why drive you to become an expert. And now look, Savannah's now managing money for people, right? She's investing on this whole syndicate, right? So as a real estate agent, you could start knocking down some apartment buildings and be the buyer's agent. Hello. And start making, so like, if you don't have a client, find a client, create a client. And Savannah has created a client by pooling money. Now, how does one go about syndicating? I'm going to suggest they syndicate with you. You've already figured it out. But if somebody was ambitious and they're trying to figure it out, do you coach people on how to create a syndication? Or do you just kind of coach people on how to get money into a syndication? What do you coach on?
Yeah, a little bit of everything. So definitely coaching people who want to invest passively, because that's a big piece of the medical community, especially is like my doctors and nurses that don't want to do any work and just want to invest passively, but still get those great returns from real estate. So we do that and help coach people on how to get started in those investments. But then also, if people want to go out and buy apartment buildings, we do help them with the underwriting. We do consult calls on like brand building, how to raise capital. So I run this business with my husband, and he does all the underwriting, acquisition. He has the broker relations. He's finding the properties, talking to the realtors, getting the financing, doing all that piece. And then I do like the capital raising, investor relations, all the marketing piece. So we've kind of split it up like that. And so a lot of our coaching is kind of dependent on our specific like niches, I guess.
Yeah, that makes sense. And I do work here with doctors in the Denver area, right? And the doctors are like, hey, I'm kind of churning this cash off. That a little bit more than I need, then thank God, right, that they are making that. And nurses too, if you're living properly, if you can have surplus cash, that's a wonderful first world problem to have.
Yeah.
But we need to be able to then invest it so that it's actually, so your money's working for you. My coach, Tim Harris, always says, rich comes from when your money's working for you and you're no longer working for your money.
Yeah.
Right. And when your money's working for you and you're no longer working for your money, you can be on a beach, you can be at a ski resort, you can be wherever you be, you can be with your family, you can be free, right? You can go to the soccer game, you can go to the PTO meetings. So how is your challenge finding people, finding properties, getting them to be open-minded? Like, what are the challenges you run into in trying to teach people like you can be free?
Yeah, a lot of different things. Really kind of like the why that you mentioned before. I mean, that's really the foundation. And for us, it's always came back down to our family. And so when we got started on this early on, we sat down together and got very specific of like, okay, where do we want to be in 5 years? What do we want to be doing on a day-to-day? What kind of projects are we working on? Who are we talking to daily? Like, who are we working with? And how much money are we bringing in every month from our real estate properties? Ideally in 5 years, what kind of life are we living? And then we kind of just backtracked from there. Like, okay, so this is what we need to be doing at 3 years to make that 5-year goal happen. And this is what we need to be doing at 1 year. And when you work backwards like that, it kind of lays out a blueprint of what steps you need to be taking on a regular basis to get to your goals. So I think that's always the starting point for people of understanding your why. Because for us, like, that freedom of our family and being able to be with our kids, and me not having to request PTO off, and being able to, when my kids are sick, not have to feel guilty about not going into the hospital and running my departments. It's like, okay, I get to take care of my kids and actually be a mom. Like that was really hard in the first 2 years trying to raise kids and work full time. And so that's always been our biggest why. And so that's our drive when, Thursday night when we're tired from work and we put the kids to bed and they're being crazy. And then it's like, all right, let's pull out the laptops and start working, because we know we'll get to our goals if we keep going at it. And so it always kind of comes down to the why. But yeah, I mean, there's a lot of hurdles that we had to overcome when we first got started, especially as new investors, and getting brokers to take you seriously, and developing those relationships with realtors that are actually sending you properties. And that was a big hurdle, especially going into multifamily, is with zero experience. Realtors have their list of people who are looking and serious. And so if you don't have any experience, it's hard to kind of get them to take you seriously. And so for us, it was like, all right, if our brokers are sending us deals, we need to get back to them within 48 hours of what we liked about the property, what we didn't like, if it's going to work for investors, why it's not going to, like, let's see the next one. And just a simple email response for like 2 sentences really worked with our broker. And we actually got 4 apartment buildings from that same broker within like an 18-month period. So it just goes to show that it's a very much a relationship piece in this business for sure. And just being open and transparent and genuine. I think with everything you're doing, you go really far.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And so when you're buying an apartment building, you said you bought 4 buildings. So like, what's the average price point of the buildings you're buying?
So the first one, we started off at $1 million and just raised from a couple friends and family for that one, for like a 350 raise, because we had the 250,000 down and then 100,000 in repairs, maintenance, operating reserves. So the first building, $1 million, and then we went to 2.2, and then 1.8, and then the last one was 4.4, I believe. So we are scaling, kind of doing the stack method, which a lot of people talk about. Our first building was 12 units, then 18, 24, now 36. So that's kind of how we're scaling within real estate.
Okay. So I hear a couple things there. One is that broker had a good year, good 18 months, right? If that's just one client, he's got a number of clients that he's doing this for. So commercial can be a really valuable edge. One of the things we do at EXP here is every quarter we offer a 5-day class on how to get certified in commercial. So if you want to be a commercial broker, or if you're commercial curious as a residential agent, reach out to me. The class is free, whether you're with EXP or not. We can teach you a 5-day class to get you certified in commercial, because that commercial agent just had a pretty good year if this is only one client, right? And at EXP, we have a residential division and a commercial division. You join one or the other, but you can also always do a little bit of the other. The second thing I heard there was, you are building, you are growing, you are building relationships, not only with the agent, but you're also building them with your clients. And that is a really good way. Now, talk to us a little bit more about stacking. You say everybody talks about that, but some people on the show might not be familiar with what stacking is.
Yeah, really kind of just progressing up. Brandon Turner on Bigger Pockets talks about this a lot, like going out and buying a duplex and then next buy a 4-plex, go out and buy an 8-plex, kind of stacking like that to continue to grow, which, I mean, there's a lot of different ways to do it. There's not, one way. It just kind of, we naturally fell into that rhythm because we were able to raise enough money to do the next subsequent deal. But it's a great way to grow, because you have the confidence to move forward and grow. For our first time stepping into a 36 unit apartment complex might have been a little intimidating. We would have had to overcome a lot more hurdles mentally and then also financially. I mean, as our first deal, we didn't have that much money raised when we first started off. So
that's 800,000 down just to walk in the door, right?
Right. Yeah. So it's a completely different ballgame. But by doing the stack method gives you, as you're growing, the tools that you need to continue to scale and kind of grow, like almost organically in a way.
Yeah. So every town, I don't care what size it is in the US, we're in one of the richest countries in the world. Every town has a hospital. Every town has doctors. Every town has nurses. You also have other professionals, lawyers, architects, anybody who went and has a master's degree, right? Or a PhD or an MD. So what Savannah's doing is replicatable wherever you are. You can be in like, hey, I'm in a small town and a eightplex goes for 100,000. Well, great. Low barrier to entry, right? 20% down on 100,000 is nothing. So, in terms of a capital raise. So how do you do a capital raise? How do you syndicate? I mean, we only have 5 minutes left. You can't possibly give away the farm here. But for someone, I work with investors, and sometimes you can do one investor per property, but that's single family properties. That's flippers and investors. That's someone saying, hey, I'm a doctor. I'm going to invest in this home builder because he does a really good job on a flip and he's offering me a good rate. I'm like, you guys work out your rate. That's not on me. But nonetheless, I brought money together with someone who wanted to buy, put them together. I get a buy, I get a sale. As a real estate agent, that's a wonderful thing. How do you raise money into a syndicate when are you a licensed agent?
No, nope, not at all. So it's all trust. It's all getting people to trust you. And that's difficult when you're going out and capital raising for a real estate deal when you have zero real estate experience. So for our first deal, it was really kind of throwing out feelers to like our circle of friends and family who knew who we were as people, how we've progressed in our professional careers, how we are as parents, and they trust us and trust that we had educated ourselves, knew what we were doing, taking all the proper precautions, eliminating all the risks to the full stability that we could. And so that was kind of how we started off initially. But then after that, we really kind of exhausted our inner circle of friends and family to raise for these deals and realized that we wouldn't be able to scale going the way that we were going. And so that was initially how I launched my brand Networth Nurse, was with the ability to create a platform where we could teach people about syndications specifically. And so I just created a website, created a brand, started talking about what I'm doing in real estate with syndications, and generated interest. People were reaching out to me. I was showing details for our deals and our transactions, showing how much our investors are making, and people were curious. And then you just talk about it nonstop, right? I'd go into the hospital and people would be like, what'd you do this weekend? Oh, I flew up to Oregon to visit a new apartment building we're buying. What? You're buying an apartment building? When nurses and doctors would hear me say that while I'm at the hospital taking care of nursing stuff, they'd be like mind blown. Like, wait, what are you doing? And what is this like? And people love real estate, love chatting real estate. And almost anytime I'd be, in the in-between hall rooms and the doctors, and they'd always be talking about crypto and this and stocks. And I'm like, man, you guys need to shed some light into the power of real estate. And you could just see their eyes they'd be very interested in it. And so at this point, we had a lot of repeat investors, a lot of referrals just from kind of word of mouth of what we're doing. But it is, it takes consistency 100%. This did not happen overnight. It took a lot of phone calls, a lot of emails, a lot of explaining. I heard a lot of no's. I still get no's of people it's not a good fit for them, or they don't want to do it. And so the resiliency and the grit that you need to go out and capital raise is big, but it's also a mindset shift of like, you're not selling something, you're providing a huge opportunity. And so at first, when we kind of went to our inner circle of friends and family, it was like our friends and family don't have the money to invest. They're not investor mindset set, and so it was kind of like falling on deaf ears. And then when we realized, as I started talking to different people, investor savvy people, these doctors, these nurses, people who kind of understood it translated a lot better, and I grew a lot more interest. And so really for me, just getting out there on social media is huge, building my brand, and just being really transparent with everything I'm doing. And I just share like really good content on a regular basis of like different things I'm learning, mistakes I've made, doing different videos and reels and posts and things like that, so people can see kind of what it's like being a nurse and an investor.
And that's fantastic. Going through the no's, doing the hard work when you don't want to do it, getting past that, right? Making mistakes, being transparent about that, being authentic, offering value, and then agent listeners, then working on brand, then working to scale, because you have to have a base. You have to prove yourself before you can scale. Scale might come with brand, right? Becoming the net worth nurse. You're not born the net worth nurse. You create, right, the net worth nurse, but you have to actually have a stack to stand on, like stack of success. And Savannah, what's your husband's name?
Lupe.
So Savannah and Lupe have built the stack, right? They got their success through the school of hard knocks, through the grit, through the hard work. And then she's also very passionate about it. Savannah and Lupe, when they're out, they share what they do with people and they're excited. And people do talk about real estate at cocktail parties. People do talk about real estate at work. And if you don't have an answer to, hey, how's the market? Ooh, you got to have something there to pull them in, to reel them in. Like, oh, is it because are you asking because you're interested in buying or selling? Right? They're asking because they're ignorant. So steer their ignorant question into a way that's productive for you, right? Someone says, hey, how you doing? It's not because they care. It's because they don't know what else to say, right? So they ask about how's the real estate market, not because they necessarily care, because they know you're in real estate. Great. They know you're a realtor. They know you're a real estate investor. They know you're a real estate syndicator. Get them into a conversation you want to have with them. And that's what Savannah's been doing. That's what she teaches. That's what she coaches. That's what she's been successful at doing. And that's how she's achieving financial freedom. I know you've got a kind of a hard stop and you got to run. Any final thoughts?
I would just say, reach out to people who are successful or doing what you want to be doing. That was something I kind of learned early on, especially like launching a brand and not knowing like what that even looks like. Following people who are doing a good job of it and people that I liked, everyone's doing something differently. Like our syndication returns aren't extremely different than anyone else who's doing these real estate investment syndications. But nurses love investing with me because I'm also a nurse. So use your skill set and what you have to offer and use it to your advantage. Pull up like your personality and let it kind of shine through your brand and what you're doing, and you'll attract the people that you want to work with. But yeah, if anyone, I love chatting real estate. I love talking about investing and growing your wealth. So if you're remotely interested in what we're doing or want to reach out, you can reach me. networthnurse.co is my website. And I'm on all social medias as Networth Nurse. So Instagram, Facebook, LinkedIn, and YouTube. More than happy to chat and talk to anyone who's interested.
Awesome. Well, hey, thanks for spontaneously spending a little time with us. You're broadcasting out to 8 or 9 channels live right now. We'll get you up on more recorded. It was just fantastic to visit with you. We welcome you back anytime you want. We'd love to dive deeper on your business and your coaching and what you're doing, and to meet Lupe. And if we can share this freedom with other people, it'd be wonderful. So thank you so much, Savannah, for all that you're doing, for the communities you're serving, and for all the knowledge you're sharing.
Yes, absolutely. Thank you for having me.
Awesome. Bye, everybody.